Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to Game Week, Fantasy Premier League, Game Week 18. And it's all the press conferences. Well, not all the press conferences. We've got some of the press conferences to go over. But we do have as much injury and team news as we can get. My name is Joe. And as ever, I am joined by Fantasy Football Scout's editor, Neale. Neale, welcome. How are you?
Blurry by the looks of it. Am I out of focus for you as well? I don't know. I look a bit.
Yeah. No, I thought my
you
glasses.
can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you, and I can see a blurred you, but hopefully that'll work itself
That's
out.
probably a good thing that my face is blurred.
Okay. I'm once again, for some reason, YouTube's not giving me any playback. So I'm assuming we're going live and everyone can hear and see us. Please do, if you can see and hear us, please do say it in the live chat. But obviously not everyone, like for the next half an hour, keep saying it. But just if a couple of people can say, yes, we can see and hear you, all fine, then we can proceed. Welcome to those joining us early on in the live chat. Colin F., Sting in the Tail, FPL Pompkino, DZ-ish, Sam Bam, FPL Alexander Arnold, Top Marks, Geo Boys, Jacob, Sammy, many, many more. Thanks so much for joining us early on. Hundreds of you so far in the live chat. I know many more of you do join. Do remember to press that like button. If you're not always subscribing, which I'm sure many of you are, do remember to subscribe as well. Just before we... look at the first fixture, which is tonight, is Crystal Palace against Brighton. Just a reminder that over at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk, there is a 7-day free trial for membership, and there's also a 20% off offer there. So do have a look at that. You can do all sorts of things, create your own tables, have a look at all the latest stats and find out who's underperforming, overperforming, all those types of things. Okay, first of all, so I think we have a few people in the live chat saying we can see and hear us. Need Joe to be blurred too, just so that we can complete the blurred set there. Okay, I'll try and stay in focus as much as I can, but I'll sort of move quickly or something. Maybe that'll blur it a bit. Okay, tonight it's the Peas Pottage Services Derby, where Crystal Palace take on their local rivals Brighton. So first of all, the home side first. Crystal Palace, no Zaha, so they can't win 1-0 from one shot. Phew. What is the latest from Crystal Palace?
Yeah, quite a substantial update this was yesterday. So this was one of 4 press conferences we had on Wednesday. We had another 4 today so far. We've got another possibly 2 to come this afternoon, and then 8 who we won't hear from. But we have heard from Hodgson, of course, ahead of tonight's game. And he said that Lerman's doing well. He can make a swift return for this one. Ayu's back from a ban as well. Johnston's not too seriously injured. I think in terms of possibly game week 19 for him, this one comes a bit too soon, but he should be back pretty soonish. So that leaves Edward, Decore, Holden, Raksaki, Ferguson on the sidelines. Ward's joined them as well with a hamstring injury. And the sort of the biggest headline, I suppose, from that was Hodgson's indecision of whether he's going to start Eze or not.
Okay.
Because he is fit. He came back last weekend. He was on the bench against Man City. He says he's on the cusp of a start, but he has to weigh up, the risk versus reward situation as to whether he starts or not. So if he doesn't start tonight, he'll be certainly getting on the pitch and then probably starting from game 19.
Right, yeah. Dario in the live chat asked why is Zaha not going to play? Because he doesn't play for Palace anymore. He plays in Turkey. But usually he beats Brighton on his own. As for Brighton, though, they have more news of more injuries. I don't know if anyone's going to be... It's just going to be Simon Adingra, but on his own, basically, soon. But, who's the latest on the treatment table?
Joel Veltman, another fullback. So that, you can get down to Ego, Pascal Gross, and Hinselwood as your 3 options for fullback now. None of whom are actual fullbacks. So,
no, Gross can play there, of course. But I think it probably would be Igor Hinchwood maybe today.
Perhaps, yeah. I think that's seems to be consensus. I think amongst Brighton fans. Welbeck's fit, but he's not ready to start. So that was another line of note from this press conference. There wasn't much else. I don't think we're expecting any of the injured players back. I think it was just last week. De Zerbi said Webster, Estupinian and Lamptey would be many weeks more yet.
Okay.
And then March and Fatty are longer term. And Ciso actually had a second operation this week on his knee, so he's out until February.
Okay. I did see Estupinian back in training, in a training video. But we've seen that before. We've seen Matoma running out and then not be fit to play. So it looks like Estupiñán is sort of near, but as you said, it might be weeks before he's match fit. But he's at least seemed to be running on the grass in the fog in Lancing, which is sounds as atrocious as it probably is if anyone's been to Lancing. Aston Villa, do apologise, Lancing is okay. Aston Villa against Sheffield United, next fixture we got on the list here. We have had a press conference from Unai Emery, and also we had a little teaser on was it TikTok last night, or I believe that, or was it Discord? It was somewhere outside of Twitter. We did get an update about a certain defender there. So yeah, what's the latest?
Yeah, Douglas Luiz was streaming last night, wasn't he? And he exclusively revealed that Pau Torres was going to be out for this one. Mm-hmm. And so it has transpired. Emery's confirmed that in the last half an hour-ish. Mm-hmm. Him and Tielemans aren't going to be fit for this one. They both were doubts going into this one, but they're out. And of course, Mings, Buendia and Troy are out as well. Apart from Kamara, who's banned, Emery said the other players are ready. So I think Bailey wasn't spotted in training yesterday, but he said that everyone else is going to be available. Mm-hmm. Perhaps he's a Callum Wilson type and that they manage his workload on the training ground. But they also get Luiz and Digne back from suspension as well. So one in, one out in the engine room with Kamara suspended, but Luiz back.
Okay, yeah, and it was Twitch last night. I seem to mention every single other social media platform. Okay, and Sheffield United. Do we have any latest there?
We do, yeah. This was one of the four yesterday. Nothing really new, nobody named as a new concern, but he did say that a couple of anonymous players were plagued by old injuries, so they had recurring problems in the lead up to this game. Again, we don't know who that is. As for the longer term ones, there's four still out. That's Basham, Davies, Egan and Jefferson. Brewster and Norrington Davies, I think I've said this most weeks, they've been back in training for a little while. Norrington Davies played for the under-21s on Tuesday. That was his first match in over a year. So he's nearing a return. Archer is available to play in case anyone had any doubts. I don't think anyone did, but Wilder was asked about this because he got a buyback clause in his contract for Aston Villa. I think someone asked if that meant he couldn't play, but there's no such.
No, it's just a loan.
It's only for loan.
He's not on
loan.
Yeah,
it's only for loan player, so he should be all right.
Okay. Okay. Moving on now. West Ham against Manchester United. Not much. No press conferences as such. But of course, West Ham did play midweek, so we all sort of got some clues about availability and the sort of minutes they got midweek as well. But yeah, what's sort of the latest that we can give for West Ham?
Yeah, these two teams, these are the first ones who haven't had press conferences of the eight I'm about to discuss. So Antonio's only injury doubt that we know of. He's been out for a while with his hamstring injury. They did miss a few players through illness this week. I think two actually ended up sitting out that Liverpool game last night. Aguerd and Cornier. So we'll see if they're back for the weekend. We're not going to find out, of course, in time for the deadline. But those were the two who missed out. Everyone else of note was involved last night, including Bowen, who scored and lasted a long time in that game, and Areola, that was his first start since his wrist injury.
Yeah, so what do we think? Do you think he was playing there because he's now the cup guy, or is he playing there just to build up his league fitness?
Yeah, Fabianski started the Europa League game last Thursday, and we thought, is he now back on cup goalkeeper duties? He then started again in game week 17, kept a clean sheet, first in a while, and Areola didn't exactly cover himself in glory last night. But having said that, Fabianski conceded 5 himself a few weeks ago against Fulham, so it's a tough one. I've stuck Fabianski in the predicted lineup purely off the basis that, Moyes likes settled sides and doesn't like to disrupt the status quo, and they've just kept a clean sheet in the league with Fabianski between the sticks, so I've stuck with him in goal, but it's a bit of a toss-up, really. Okay,
Manchester United, haven't heard anything there. What is the latest that we know so far?
No, we know for certain that Darlow's going to be out because he's suspended, and Fernandes will be back. So 1 in, 1 out on the ban front. Martial was ill, so you'd think he could be back if it's a minor thing. Eriksen's the one who could be back in terms of the long-term absentees. He's been back in training since Monday, so he could be involved. We don't think anyone else is going to be back, so that's Maguire, Casemiro, Malacia, Martinez, Mount, and Lindelof, and of course Sancho's not being considered either.
Okay, moving on, we've got Fulham against Burnley. Fulham in fine form. Burnley less so as well. Now, I haven't seen anything from Fulham. Have you got any sort of latest from Fulham there?
Well, again, nothing specifically for game week 18, unless he's one of the unnamed managers doing one this afternoon. But he did speak after the Carabao Cup and before it on Tuesday when they played Everton. So we got a little bit of news. Ream was still out for that one. Traore was still out as well. Ream's going to be out after Christmas, I think. Jimenez is banned, of course. He's serving a 3-match ban for that strange challenge on, was it Longstaff, I think, last weekend. He's already served one of the 3 games on Tuesday. He's got another 2 to go. Bassi returned from illness for that game against Everton as well. And Williams' substitution, it looked like it was a head injury and then forced him off. Apparently it wasn't.
Okay.
It was pre-planned. They're going to manage him throughout this Christmas schedule with these creaking limbs. I keep thinking players like that are old, but I'm much older than an old footballer, which is kind of depressing.
Yes, I know. I'm apparently 7 years older than the now former manager of Nottingham Forest, which was neither delighted or upset.
Right. Wow.
He's only 44.
Is he really? I didn't know that. Blame me. I'm not far off that.
I know. But so Burnley, we have had some news from Burnley, I understand.
We have, yeah. One of the ones today. And I don't think there's much there that's going to interest fantasy managers. 2 of 3 of Cork, Ramsey and Goodmanson could be back. Company didn't say which one was the odd man out. Charlie Taylor is back. He was suspended in game week 17. Okay. He's back from a ban. Some people might need him this weekend. So I think Koleosho was the only one who's out long term. He's only red flag. Foster came back last weekend. We weren't expecting that, but he played 45 minutes.
Okay.
And company's been talking about him at length this afternoon, saying don't be surprised if we play him. I don't know in what capacity, but he is not going to go to the African Cup of Nations, so he'll be around for a while.
That's great news for him to be back, but also great news for us as well, because before he was absent for a while, he was great up front as an asset. He was a very, very good differential. So if Burnley are to get any goals at all, Lyle Foster could be the guy to get on the end of them. Okay. Moving on for Luton against Newcastle. Once again, we haven't had much news. Lots of interest in Newcastle players. I'll start with Luton first because Tom Lockyer has been discharged from hospital. He's back at home now. So the medical people have seen him as an inpatient there. So back at home. I haven't heard anything else from Luton apart from that, really. That's probably overshadowed most other news.
Yeah, it could be that their press conference is tomorrow. One of the cluster 8 or 9 that we're going to expect tomorrow. So, yeah, he's obviously out of contention for this one. Because of last week being declared null and void, that game against Bournemouth, Nakamba will still be suspended because he was going to be serving a 1-match ban in that one. Yeah. Assume that's still how it works, so he should still be banned. They've got a pretty good bill of health otherwise. Woodrow was back in training last week, so he could feature this time. I think Potts and Burke aren't too far away either, so... it might just be one change at the back. Whoever, like Anderson perhaps coming in for Lockyer. Okay. Because they played pretty well up until that point against Bournemouth.
Okay, and on to Newcastle. Lots of interest in the live chat about Newcastle assets. Gordon, heavily owned in midfield, took a nasty knock, and that's the quote there from Eddie Howe there. But I think I saw a picture of him in training today on social media, so I'm not sure what that is or how accurate that was. And also news about Isak as well. Is he fit? What's happening with some of their defenders coming back as well? I mean, what's the latest that we know?
Well, again, we could have done with this press conference being today. Not that Eddie Howe is much help usually when he's talking to the media. So 2 players came off in midweek. Emil Kraft was one, backup right back, and Gordon was the other. That Andy Gordon training thing is a running joke, I think, on Twitter. Pictures of him in his Everton kit, and then a picture of Claire Balding as well.
Oh, right, okay. Fair enough. I'm pretty certain it wasn't Claire Balding I was looking at. Could have been that.
I'm not even sure they have trained yet after Tuesday. Where are we? Yes, he limped out of the game, and Eddie Howe said afterwards that he was very sore at the moment. So the hope is that it's just pain management. It's a Tuesday, Saturday turnaround. Last week he had hamstring tightness and still started in that game. Howe did sort of praise his powers of recovery in that press conference last week, saying he's a very quick recoverer of things normally. So the hope is that it's just a bit of a painful one that he can shake off. But of course we're not going to know for sure until the weekend. They've got more problems beyond that. So Fabian Schär and Joe Linton came off last weekend against Fulham. They didn't play on Tuesday at Stamford Bridge. Isak missed game week 17 as well with his ongoing groin thing. He didn't feature against Chelsea either. The last we heard on Schär and Joe Linton was that they were going to have scans early in the week. They didn't appear too bad injuries, but Howe wasn't sure.
Okay.
And Isak, as I said, it's an ongoing thing. He's had a scan on his groin. It's not a big problem, and he actually had a chance apparently for Chelsea, but he wasn't involved at all. So they're obviously ongoing doubts for the weekend as well. So on top of that, Tonali, Manquillo, Barnes, Willock, Murphy, Anderson, and Targett, they're all out as well.
Okay, a few questions in the chat about Livramento as well. I know he's not an injury doubt at all, but what do you think of the chances of him starting are?
Well, diminished from last week, but not like completely out of the equation. It'll all hinge on Botman, I think. It'll all hinge on whether Howe thinks he's ready to start.
Okay.
If he isn't, then the back four will probably be Trippier, Lascelles and Burn at centre half, and then Livramento at left back. But Botman was given 45 minutes against Chelsea, which Howe said was a step in his recovery. And Trippier and Burn were benched, I think, with preservation in mind for probably this weekend. Trippier's had a few injuries as well. Of course, he's been a bit out of form. So Livramento is now risk. If last week it would have been 100% certain to start. Now he's like probably down to like something like 40 or 50 if you wanted odds on it.
Okay.
So if you're banking on it, then I wouldn't.
No,
because he's the possible fall guy if Botman does start.
Okay, yeah. With Man City and Brentford missing a fixture, there might be a few people having to rely on their bench this week. So especially pertinent there. Nottingham Forest against Bournemouth. Now, Nottingham Forest have a new manager, hopefully older than me. Their new manager.
I have to check that. Yeah.
Has he had anything to say? I suppose most of the questions are about him coming in.
Yeah.
If there has been any questions there from journalists, but do we have anything of the latest team news wise?
Yeah, precisely that, Joe. Unfortunately, he didn't give us much on the team news front. I think he'd had one session with his new squad, so he might know one or two things, but he wasn't letting on. He wasn't really asked, to be fair. So yeah, the last update we had from Cooper was that Aurier was a doubt for game week 17 and he missed out. Philippe and Sangare missed that game as well with undeclared injuries that previously a muscle and groin injury respectively. And now when he's out, ruled out for months in November, but he has actually been pictured jogging this week, so I'm not sure if he's ahead of schedule. So those were the four flag players that we're aware of. Yeah. I mean, there was a few lines of note. Of course, Nuno's now reunited with Gibbs, White and Bobby. So, I mean, the predicted lineup this week is a complete stab in the dark, but you'd think those two would feature because he said that they know our philosophy already and they can transmit our ideas to their teammates. And then he says, in terms of numbers, I have to be honest, I've never managed a squad of 30 players, so he's going to have to get to grips with a very bloated squad at Forest. Having managed, we know previously at Wolves that he had a very, very small group that he liked, a bit like Pep, he likes to work with a small group of players. And he definitely hasn't got that at Forest.
No. Okay, we've had it confirmed that Nuno is in fact younger than me by 2 years.
Is he?
Also, just before we move on to Bournemouth as well, FPL Spartans has gone into the live chat, and those also play the Sky game. Just in the last few minutes, they have announced that they will be following suit to all the other fantasy games around the Bournemouth Luton game, and that those points will be removed, which obviously delights me as someone who brought Solanke in and captained him. So those 18 points have gone for me. Bournemouth. What's the latest there?
Yes, segueing into the Bournemouth team news, they were Irola's talking this afternoon. Now this is, I don't think he's been named by Bournemouth as a concern, but Milos Kerkez was pictured wearing a protective boot on Twitter earlier today, or Instagram, I think it was. I think it was his father who put the picture up. So he is obviously a doubt. And Irola did say that there was a couple of knocks, some small issues that they were checking on. So that might be one of them. They haven't recovered Traore, who's still ill. Max Aarons, he rejoined the training last week, so he could be back involved. But Kelly, Adams, Fredericks, I think, are still out. Macondes is working his way back. Scott was in the squad last weekend, though. That was we weren't expecting that. Alex Scott from formerly of Bristol City fame. Yeah. He was a substitute last weekend. A swifter than expected recovery for him.
Okay. Moving on to Tottenham. against Everton as well. Once again, I haven't seen anything latest really. I've just sort of had a look really on the team news page that yourself penned. You or Tom were looking at that. But Brennan Johnson was, I think, a doubt going into this, and I know that Doggy has picked up a booking, as has Basuma. Yeah. He's now got a 4-match ban there, so some suspensions and for Spurs. But yeah, I don't know what the latest is with Brennan Johnson though.
He should be all right. So Postecoglou said last Friday when the game was that it wasn't a concussion. But even if it was a concussion, he would have been all right because the 6-day protocol, he would have served it. It was just a cut to the head. So again, Postecoglou hasn't spoke yet. I think that's going to be tomorrow. But he sounded very positive on Johnson anyway. Lo Celso, we don't know. He missed out last weekend with a niggle, but we don't know if it's serious or not.
Yeah.
And Madison, Van der Ven, Solomon, Perisic, Sessegnon, Whiteman, Phillips, and Benteke are all out. As you said there, 2 suspensions. Adogi out for 1 game just because of yellow card accumulation, and then Basuma out for 4, which I think takes him up to AFCON. So we won't see him before February, I don't think, for Spurs.
Okay, FPL Spartans got back in the live chat to apologise. They didn't know that I'd captained Solanke that the Sky game, and he's consoled me by informing me that he captained Cole Palmer. So brilliant,
nice.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well
Every
done,
cloud.
Everton, what's the latest there?
Well, Dyche due to speak in 5 minutes. Would you believe he's got a 3:30 press conference? Okay. He did speak earlier in the week though, after the Fulham game and before the Fulham game as well. Decore is a major doubt for this one. He doesn't sound like he's going to be fit. We'll probably get confirmation of that from Dyche very, very soon. He's got a hamstring problem. They were also missing Coleman, Young, and Mikalenko, so a bit like Brighton have got serious problems at fullback. They were all niggly injuries, so we'll get the latest from Dyche on those 3. If they're not recovered, then we saw Branfield play at left back in midweek against Fulham. Ali's still out, and Andre Gomez is back involved. He's playing for the under-21s, working up match fitness. I don't know how he would feature in terms of.
I didn't know he was still there.
Exactly, yeah. I was going to say if you were doing a Premier League forgotten 11, I think he'd be holding the fort in midfield.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think he's going to feature prominently in Dyche's plans anyway. But he's featuring for the under-21s now.
Okay, a Liverpool against Arsenal. Yeah, this is a tricky one to call. I mean, Liverpool in fine attacking form. However, in the last time in the league, they failed to score. Arsenal, meanwhile, any team that can lock Brighton out, ending the 4th longest run of scoring in Premier League history for Brighton. There, Arsenal were the ones to defeat them. But I guess for Liverpool, the latest is really around what happened in the cup. Looking at the minutes there, and I don't know if that will tell us anything about who might start this game.
It might, yes, it sometimes does. So 6 of them got rested or weren't fit enough to feature, including Salah. He was on the bench, Trent as well, and Luis Diaz. I think Gravenberg missed out, but it's just fatigue with him by the sounds of it. The only starter from Gameweek 17 who lasted more than 69 minutes was Darwin Núñez. He lasted the entire game, and he was operating down the left flank as well. Actually, he had a pretty decent game.
Must have scored loads of those 5 goals.
Yeah, he's continued his run, Joe. His prolific run in the league. He's extended that to the cup of successive blanks. He's so that's a big call this weekend, I think, because Gakpo got taken off a little bit early. It's Gakpo versus Darwin up top. There's a slim chance they could both start because that was the case last night. Darwin on the left, Gakpo through the middle. But I suspect it'll be shared minutes between game weeks 18 and 19. Okay. Because that Boxing Day game falls, I think it's like 63, 64 hours after after this one. So I think there'll be some shared minutes there. Okay. Injury-wise, McAllister, we're not sure if he's going to be back. He's paying free now. So he got a boot on the knee a few weeks back. He's improving. And Jota is out doing ball work on the pitch as well, so it'll not be too long before he's back. Again, Liverpool didn't really say for sure whether they'll be in contention for game week 18 or whether it's going to be later over the Christmas schedule, but they're nearing returns. And they've still got Thiago, Bajcetic and Matip and Robertson all out as well.
Okay, and as for Arsenal, had nothing there, but I presume. I was having a look on your team news page, and the lineup looks you sort of predicting a familiar lineup: Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Odegaard, Rice, Havertz. I suppose that could be Trossard.
It could be.
And then up front, Saka, Jesus, Martinelli, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, even Havertz has played himself into some sort of form. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there may be a few, like one or two horses for courses selections, but I mean, it's just not going to be. It's not going to be rotation for rotation's sake. It's the fixture of this magnitude, and they've had a full week off. They weren't involved in the Carabao Cup, so it's going to be pretty much almost the same 11, possibly exactly the same 11 as last week. They have who they got out: Thomas Partey, Timber, Tomiyasu, who could have come into the contention of this game had he been fit, but he's not. Vieira, El Neni, and then Jorginho. We didn't know was injured, but he missed out last weekend.
Okay.
Again, he might have possibly come into contention for this because he has played this season in the bigger matches, like he played against City and Chelsea. But we won't get an update on him until tomorrow from Arteta. So again, the caveat with all these teams who haven't heard from yet is that we could get fresh injuries past the deadline that we can't do anything about.
Last game is Wolves against Chelsea. We have heard from sort of from both managers, but we actually have had a press conference from the Wolves camp, haven't we? And what is the latest?
We have indeed, yeah. Gary O'Neil speaking this afternoon. He has confirmed that Sarr's fit to come back in for this one, and you think he would replace Burnley. Neto, we could see for the first time in quite some time. He has been training, and I think he's. Let me find the exact quote. Wolves. I think he's all right. Yeah, by the looks of it. Training's going well. He's feeling good. So let's see how he's come Sunday. He's trained the full week.
Okay,
that's pretty. Positive stuff. So he's nearly back, sized back. Hodge is even back in training as well. Johnny's much like Sancho, he's disciplined, so he's not in contention. They did have 4 players who played through illness last weekend. Matis Cunha, Dawson, Semedo and Lamina, they all played through the game. Then they missed training afterwards. I think they were sort of recovering. Dawson only came back in the training today. But they've all come through it okay, according to O'Neil, so we think that's they're all fine.
Meanwhile, sorry, FPL Spartans is back again. He's very sorry. He didn't mean to twist the knife about the Solanke captaincy of mine. Anyway, he's captaining Pascal Gross tonight.
What's his latest coming? I've got a beautiful wife and a massive 5-bed house. And
yes,
brilliant job.
He could be married to Pascal Gross. Maybe he's saying that. Chelsea. What is the latest there? I guess Levi Colwill was an injury doubt, possibly for this game.
Well, it looked that way when he came off at half time, but apparently he's not. It was just fatigue. Pochettino said he wanted fresh energy down the flank, and Gusto actually came on at left back, which is a bit of a blow actually, because I think with Colwill, you were thinking he's kind of almost got the monopoly on that left back position because Chilwell has been out and Cucurella definitely is out for a while yet. But now you've seen Gusto play at left back in midweek. You've seen Maatsen play at left back in midweek. Chilwell's apparently back in training and nearing a return.
Oh, really?
So Colwill all of a sudden is not looking as secure for minutes as we thought. So yeah, Chilwell apparently ahead of schedule. Enzo did come off in that game against Newcastle with a stomach bug. I don't know if that's going to be render him out because it's a Tuesday Sunday turnaround, so that's pretty generous. Nkunku was back for that one. In fact, he was back last weekend, unused on the bench. He actually got onto the pitch against Newcastle, so edging closer towards a start. Sanchez, I think, is going to be out for 2 weeks. It could be anything up to 6, but there was a report today saying he could be out just a fortnight. They'll possibly back for Gameweek 21. And then you've still got James, who's undergoing surgery, could be out for months and months and months. Cucurella, similar. Fofana still out, Chalobah still out, Chukwuemeka still out. Lavia and Ogachukwu are the closest. Lavia's been back in training for a while, but it's just match fitness with him. Ogachukwu's at the end stage of his rehab. So, yeah, a mixed bag from Chelsea.
Okay, now I haven't done my usual team news roundup sheet for this one because we haven't had so many press conferences. We only had like around half of them. So we haven't got a lot of definitive news on a lot of those. But if there's a specific player that you're interested in, just have a look through. We've gone through in order. So if you've arrived late to live stream, just go back. We've done it all in order. But of course there are those sort of notable suspensions. Doggy for Spurs and Basuma obviously has now got starting his 4-match ban there. Neto could be back from Wolves. We've got that up on screen there. We know that he could be. And of course, I think the big news really was around Pau Torres not playing, because he was a big transfer target ahead of Villa's good fixtures. And so Konsa could be the best way to go, or Martinez in goal if you're looking to invest in the defence there. I think elsewhere, Newcastle, a lot of interest there. We just don't have definitive on Gordon, Isak, all of those at the moment there. So do keep checking Fantasy Football Scouts social media on X, and also on the team news pages of the website as well. Neale, thanks so much for joining me. Good luck with the game week. I won't see you before Christmas, so have a great Christmas, and have a good game week 18. And I hope I do too, and I hope all my points remain and this time. And thanks everyone who has been watching and listening over the year to our team news. We'll be back again. I'll be doing a sort of a deadline stream kind of thing on Boxing Day, just me. So I'll go on. I'll reveal whatever the latest is there ahead of game week 19. That'll be. I mean, they're coming thick and fast there. Neale, in the meantime, thanks a lot for joining me, and take care, and see you soon.
Yes, see you, Joe. Bye, everybody.